Hi and welcome back to my channel. So on this one, this is exciting. So we're going to talk about scaling your community interest company. I'm talking about after your first year is done and your pilots are done, what are you going to do in your second year and how can you scale to £100,000 for your second year? So before I jump into that, please hit the subscribe button. It helps support me, it helps to grow the channel, and it helps you keep up to date with all my CIC and grant funding videos. So that aside, let's jump into it. So how do you scale to £100,000 by year two? As I said in one of my previous videos, you've got to be realistic for your first year. You know, I'm thinking around sort of more the £40,000 mark. I think that would be realistic and that would be a really good start for year one. But what do you do after year one? How are you going to scale up? And it's good to think about this in the early stage because you're literally going to plan out how you're going to scale, and you need to do that groundwork from the beginning if you want to achieve that in year two. So this is really a part two to the video that I did on what to do in your first year. So the first is, of course, funding. So let's talk about the income stream of grant funding for community interest companies. So in your first year, I always recommend you go for the small pots. That's just to get you started, to get you doing the pilots. In year two, you can apply for larger pots. But actually, what I'm going to do with this video is talk about how you can get to 100,000 a year, but only apply for the smaller pots. What I would recommend is, of course, you always go for your National Lottery Community Fund, which is £10,000. Most of you will be running some kind of youth project, so Children in Need is another great option. Some local community funding, there's lots of community funding around in your area, so look into it. You're bound to be able to get around 10,000 if you look, and I've got another video on how to look at local funding. Then you want to do some kind of art project, even if your project is not related to art. If your CIC isn't related to art and you are not an artist, that's not a problem. But you could probably still get an artist in and run some kind of community arts project. So by that, I mean you could be running some kind of activity alongside your main work that you do. So with this, you could apply for Arts Council, which is £15,000, I'd say, for a year's project, but you can actually apply for 30,000 for up to 3 years. So that's a really good pot. And you can also apply for that if you are an artist. You can get it as an individual and you can get it as your CIC as well. So you can kind of double up. So for instance, I get the Arts Council, I do £15,000 grant for a 6-month project as me as an individual. And then I do a CIC project for 15,000 for like up to a year. So that means I get it twice. That means I get 30,000 in 1 year and also get the lottery. I get Children in Need. I also do the lottery heritage as well fund because I also run some heritage stuff with my project. But no, not everyone will be doing that. But there's also other ones. If you're doing something with sport, there's Sports England, there's Active Sport UK. Also, if you're doing anything in terms of criminal justice, you could apply for the police commissioner grants that they have, and local authority also have some different grants if you're running like youth projects, etc. So there's lots of different grants out there that can probably get you quite easily to around 60, 70,000 just by applying for small pots, okay? So realistically, 60, 70,000 is quite achievable for small pots over a few different grant funders every year. So how do you then get from sort of around 60, 70 to 100? I recommend for all CICs that you don't just rely on grant funding, especially because you'll also have gaps. So like you'll run a project, get a bunch of funding, and then you'll have a gap and you have to apply again, and then you've got perfect. So you want something to tide you over. So you want another income stream. It's really important to have a diverse income stream coming into your CIC. So by that, I mean, yes, you've got your grant funding, but also you're selling some kind of products or services. And by that, I mean, you could, for instance, be selling tickets to an event. Maybe you've made some kind of book that you can sell. Maybe you're making clothing that you could sell. Generally speaking, people don't really sell merchandise. I know a lot of CICs and charities think, oh, we'll just make some merchandise, we'll put some stuff on the website. Like no one's going to buy a t-shirt with your CIC logo on. So don't think about merchandise like that's a dead end. Think about something that people actually want and they need. So God, that could be anything. So depending on your CIC, I mean, do give me a call. I'm happy to brainstorm that with you. I'm happy to idea storm that with you, because you know that is something that it's kind of dependent on your CIC. So aside from selling products and services and grants, my next tip, and this is one that I am passionate about, is reoccurring income. If you can have some kind of reoccurring income into your business, then it just helps keeping you tick over without too much work. Because running a CIC is a lot of work, so you want something that's a bit of a passive income stream. Now, there's lots of ways you can have a passive income stream. One is online courses and memberships. So if you start some kind of online course, which, as you know, I've got an online course for how to start a CIC, and I've got a membership for that. So if you think about that, is there something that your CIC does that people would pay you to train them in? So it could be your target audience that would buy something off you, but if they're a disadvantaged group, they're probably not going to buy it. So maybe other professionals who want to do what you do would actually buy something from you. So I was, for example, the other day chatting to one of my students, and she runs a nursery. So her CIC is like a nursery. And she mentioned that she's actually qualified to train safeguarding training. And I was like, oh my God, why don't you just do a online course for safeguarding training? Because I said, I know every CIC I run needs safeguarding training, so I could farm everyone over to you. And so that would be a really good passive income stream. Because once you've made the online course, you don't have to do any work. You just send people to the course, which is a bit of work, but you're not having to run the whole course. So it's a great way to get a really good income stream with a minimal amount of work once it's all set up. So she is rolling with that idea now, and that's just one example. So there's lots of different things you could do. If you're doing something in education, you could put some kind of tutoring or training. And as I said, it doesn't have to be for the group that you train, like the children. It could be for other teachers and trainers to get maybe lessons plans from you or activity plans from you. So that sort of thing makes great memberships and online courses. So that's one way you can get some reoccurring income. Another way on your website is affiliate links. So affiliate links is when you get paid a percentage when you've directed somebody to somebody else's sales cart. Okay, so say Amazon, for instance, they run a really good affiliate program. So say you are doing something with children's art activities, as an example, and you are, for instance, I was doing one last year, and constantly parents said to me, where do I get my spray paint? Okay, so, because I was using an acrylic spray paint, which is safe to use with children. So they were asking me about that. So I kept directing them to the site. Well, what I should have done, and I will be doing in future, is set up actually an Amazon link to all the art materials that I use on Amazon. Because then when the parents go over they can go straight away to my website, they can see what I've used, they select it all, put it in their carts and buy it. I then get 10% out of that Amazon sale, plus anything else they happen to have in their cart. So if you get lucky and they also buy a TV while they're at it, you actually get 10% of that as well. So that's the great thing about an affiliate link, is you don't have to do anything other than promote the sales. So that is one example of how you can also sort of earn a few pounds here and there, and that all adds up at the end of the day. So my advice is if you want to get to 100,000 and you want to grow as sustainable CIC, is that you look at multiple options for income. And if you want to know more about the ideas around online courses and memberships and how you would set those up and what platforms you need to know, I'm actually going to be doing a new course on that. So you can jump over to my website, join my membership, and join my website, which is actually free. And then you can keep in the loop, and I'll message you when that's available. But yeah, it's really good, but it's really easy to do. It's really cheap, and it's a really good sustainable way to make income, reoccurring income long term. So I hope that was useful, and if you've got any questions, jump over to my website and ask me.